Welcome to Colorado Advocacy and Actions Conference 2022. My name is Lindsay, Alexandria, Saunders-Velez. I am the Senior Executive Director of the Colorado Justice Advocacy Network. In my work that I do, I work with people involved in the incarceration system or in the criminal justice system as a whole. I'm a formerly incarcerated and juvenile justice client for Colorado. In my experience, in the system, I have faced many sexual assaults. I was sexually assaulted in the juvenile system at DYS. I was also sexually assaulted not once, not twice, but 3 times in the Colorado Department of Corrections. When I was assaulted in the Colorado Department of Corrections, I asked for help, not once, not twice, not 3 times, but many times, because it was told to me by people that they were going to do these things. And when I told somebody that this was going to happen, no one took me serious. Everyone said that it's part of the system. I find that really heartbreaking that that's where we're at in our system, that just because you go to jail, that's not what's supposed to happen. The sentence was to be away from home. The sentence was not to be abused. It was not to be sexually assaulted. It was to be away from your community to get rehabilitated. I can truly say that I was never rehabilitated inside. All the true rehabilitation that I'd done was in the community. A community that has healed me, that has put me in the position to run a nonprofit that helps correct a broken system. So with that, I would like to shift everyone's thinking around sexual assault and sexual abuse in our system. Everyone has a right to be free and safe from sexual abuse, including people who are locked up. Yet the truth that the United States correctional facilities are plagued by this violence. Every year, 200,000 adults and children are sexually abused behind bars. The majority of our survivors are abused not once, but again and again. About half of these assaults are committed by staff, the very people whose job is to keep incarcerated people safe, keep our community safe. But amongst those people, the LGBT population are amongst the most vulnerable to be abused behind bars. The Bureau of Justice Statistics found that in a 12-month period, roughly 1 in 8 LGBT prisoners were preyed upon amongst another person in custody. These rates of sexual abuse are a direct result of sexism and homophobia behind bars, particularly amongst staff members, once again, that are supposed to assist in the rehabilitation of the people behind bars. Many officials simply look the other way when LGBT people are sexually assaulted, either because they assume what happened was consensual, or they blame the LGBT person for their own victimization. Trust me, I know this for a fact, because I, as a trans person, they said I asked for it. I was just doing it for attention. I called BS. People don't do it for attention. Prisoners who have survived prior sexual abuse and those who have mental illnesses or disabilities are also at high risk of sexual assaults in detention centers. And sexual abuse does not just happen in prisons and jails. It happens in juvenile detention centers. And that is supposed to be the main focus of rehabilitation there, to put our youth on the right track to re-enter society so they never come in contact with our adult system. It also happens in our community corrections facilities where people who serve their time and are preparing to re-enter the community. And it's really surprising that it also happens in a police station where people are being sexually assaulted after they're locked up. Incarcerated survivors need and deserve help, just like any other person in our community that has suffered a sexual assault. They need and deserve help. Yet they are amongst the most isolated people in society. They're often locked up far, far away from their communities. They have no access to journalists or social medias, platforms like Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook that helped make sexual assault in the Me Too movement a national topic of conversation. As a result, their voices have almost entirely been silenced. But then we talk about speak up, speak out, don't be silent. But we are silent, making a population silent. We are not free until we are all heard. Perhaps it's the fact that prison rape survivors are removed from the rest of society that makes it so easy to ignore them. But it's not okay. But we claim these environments are trauma-informed. This is not a trauma-informed practice. Many Americans also find humor in sexual assaults in prison. Indeed, they are quick to drop jokes as, I hope they don't drop the soap. It's a ridiculous joke. It's totally inappropriate. Some people mean no harm, but they should know the harm that they are causing when they say such things. I want to move your attention to the Harvey Weinstein case. When he was convicted in February 2020, it was no surprise that on my own Twitter feed that I seen such comments. At the same time, it is important to note that a growing number of people are pushing back against prison rape jokes. During that Weinstein's case, they said, I also seen comments as, I hope he gets what he deserves in prison. Prison rape is still a thing. And just because you were convicted of a sexual assault does not mean you deserve to be raped. So what you can do to support incarcerated sexual assault survivors: lift up the voices of incarcerated and formerly incarcerated sexual assault survivors, and encourage others to do so. Share their stories. There's many outlets to share their stories and testimonies. Those need to be heard. They count with the Me Too movement. They count with all the work that you do. You cannot truly call yourself an advocate for sexual assault if you're not, or even a prosecutor of sexual assault, an investigator of sexual assault, if you are not treating the people that are behind bars the same way that you would treat someone else from behind bars when it comes to that. And many people will say that, oh, they're lying. There's a lot of people out here that will lie too. But just because they're behind bars does not make them less or more likely to lie about a sexual assault. Help dismantle a sexual culture by remembering sexual assault survivors and ongoing efforts and public disclosure at aiming at addressing sexual violence. In your work, if you work at a sexual assault crisis center, make sure that you offer services that specialize with people incarcerated, and those services are focused on sexual assault survivors incarcerated. More than ever, victim advocacy programs around the country are working with prisoners in jail to offer crisis supports to those behind bars. Many people believe sexual assault and detention is inevitable. On the contrary, when correctional leaders embrace safe practices in holding perpetrators accountable, this violence can be stopped. When we make light of rape in prison, we are giving the green light to those who are committing these horrible abuses. And all too often, they get away scot-free. And we simply cannot tolerate that any longer. And as I end, I would just like for you guys to know that just because they are incarcerated does not make them less of a good person or they deserve what they got in prison. That's not the case, because at the end of the day, we are all one step away from being behind a jail cell. If you really think about it, we're all one step away. Thank you.